may help us search this area better. As you can imagine, finding 4 individuals that we believe to be separate individuals has led us to think maybe we need to check the entire property. So that will be ongoing as well. So it would not be out of the question for you to see Greenville Police Department officials, ECU officials, state medical examiners, maybe even the state SBI at this location for at least the remainder of the week, if not longer. And once we have that information that we can share, if we're able to identify the deceased, we will certainly do that. We will, of course, if we were to be able to identify that person, we would want to find their family first and make sure that we were able to notify them what we have going on. And if anybody has any reason to believe that they know, we certainly encourage them to call us. Anybody got any questions?
Not saying that it is this, but we hear people say that, hey, my loved one got cremated, and they may not have. I mean, it's just odd. Just there's 4 bodies on the property. You guys are going to get down to the bottom of this, basically.
Absolutely, and the funeral business is not something that I pretend to understand in terms of what happens first, second, or third. But yes, it is. There could be a very plausible explanation at the end of the day. However, I don't see that right this minute in terms of why the bodies were left behind. So that will have to be answered. And if there's anybody that needs to be held accountable for that, then that'll be our job to do that as well.
Chief, you said that there's no suspected criminal cause of these people's deaths. How is that determined? Can you go into some details for us?
Only suspected in that we don't have any reason to believe otherwise. If we're able to determine that they were, then we'll make sure that that's known as well.
When the owner arrived on Saturday, he said that he found a foul stench when he first opened the door, and the press release says skeletal remains. Were these 4 bodies at different decomposition states?
That's a very good question, and I appreciate you asking. I want to be very careful for the sake of the families that may be involved. For all we know, there's not any families. For all we know, there's no one for us to report these findings to, but I'm very careful, as I have shared with my staff previously, how I speak about the deceased and the state. I will say to that question that they were in various states of decomposition, yes.
Now, you've said you've never seen anything like this to this extent. Does that change the procedure at all?
No. The procedure at this point is much like if we have a major event, is to slow down. To slow down, to check all the boxes. So one of the first things you'll see, we're reaching out now to partners who have cadaver dogs, because we want to search the property to make sure that there's not any remains elsewhere outside of the building or the outbuilding that you speak about. Then the second would be our partners at ECU, who also have devices that can detect through the ground if there's anything below the ground, to make sure that there's not anything else on the property. And once we have that and can feel confident that 4 individuals are what we have recovered, then we will vacate this area at that time, and we'll work with the owner, who has been, might I add, completely cooperative, 100% working with us to make sure that we have access to everything.
It was Hurricane Matthew 2016. Some of these areas, I think it probably got flooded out during then. I know we came down this road. Do the bodies predate this, or are they after?
It's hard to say, and not being an expert in that field, to be able to say at this condition this person would have been here for X years, I can't say, but I can tell you, like yourself, I rode through this area in water that would probably be over our heads right now, and could they have been there then? It's very plausible, but unknown.
Any indication what that building was used for previously?
I have no idea. I've actually, when I was assigned as a zone commander, I had an opportunity to work with different business owners in these buildings, and I don't recall the specific use of any of them.
Your officers have been on scene all day today, and as you mentioned, they're going to be here throughout the week. What were they doing in there today? Can you get into any specifics as far as what they've been scouting and what areas they've been focusing?
Whenever we have the cooperation from an owner, the owner of the property, it makes the job a lot easier for us to search for material that may tell us who people were. If it was a funeral home and it was a business being ran as such, there could be documentation inside the building that would lead to the identification and make the job much simpler. It would be nice if anybody that's linked to the business that sees this broadcast says, I know what happened with that, and can tell us, because they're in a world that I may not understand, there could be a plausible explanation that would actually help us close it up faster, and we could report that back to you. If there comes a time when we can release those names and we can give you an update that says, here's exactly what happened, as you know, we will make that happen when we can.
And in cases like these, you said that there's no criminal charges right now. What kind of charges could stem from it? Like concealment of death, or?
There are a litany of charges that we would consult with a DA on, such as handling, such as burial, such as not properly prepared. Several of those violations that I have been made aware of over the years, never having personally charged it, I would consult with the DA to say exactly what do we have here. But those charges may apply if we're able to find someone that's still responsible for the location.
How long do you believe this building might have sat empty without anybody going in there for them to just now find it?
The building itself versus the most recent ownership is going to be one of the issues, the answers I can't give you right now. But it's possible, plausible, that it has been more than 10, 15 years that the ownership, the most recent ownership had access to this building. I would not venture to guess that I would be wrong if I said it within 10 to 20 years under the same management ownership, so it could have been a very long time.
And in cases like this, do you need to contact the State Department of Archaeology? Is that somebody who comes in?
It's possible, and what we actually rely on most is the state medical examiner to guide us, because there's a lot of rules. If you find remains or you find something that you think, it's not as simple as just pick it up and move it. You want to make sure you handle it right, and I can't stress enough that we also want to be very respectful to the families and make sure that at the end of the day, the deceased are given the dignity they deserve for a proper burial.
We heard some people say that there was a possibility that some of the business owners next to this building had smelled something before. Had that ever been brought up?
No one had ever called us. We had not received any kind of information about that, but that'll be part of our detective's investigation as he talks through each step, because sometimes, we always say as in law enforcement when we're doing a press conference especially, see something, say something. If there's something that is bothering you like that, then let us come take a look. We may not always have the answer, but one of our partners may, and we'll figure it out. He'll work through that to get a timeline, because whenever they allege that they detected that odor could give us some indication of when things were happening.
Good.
Everybody? Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Absolutely.
Good to see you, sir. Pleasure.
Sorry to hold y'all up.
Thank you, sir.